Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Indeed.
All
right.
into it.
Well, go ahead, Letot.
Thank you. Starting in the bottom left of the map, playing as the Blue Protoss, it is Team Liquid's MaNa.
I'm playing for Berlin International Gaming. It is ShoWTimE. Berlin.
That's a cool name. Like to say, like Clan Big, you can actually make like a cool name out of this. Very nicely done by them. So yeah,
they really should get a big Gabe though, no?
That would be so epic, man.
Yeah.
It's like when Cascade recruited Cass. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, he should just include his name in the whole name here with the tag as well, but never happened, unfortunately. I think he did it for 1 or 2 days. Then he was like, okay, well, this is really stupid, and then he got out of this.
Yeah.
Let's see what builds.
If it was Hero Marine though, he should just rename himself to Gabe, and then he would be Big Gabe. You know, it would be perfect.
Yeah. But I don't think he would go for that.
Nah, he wouldn't. He's been in mouse for like 20 years or something. He's like 20 years, and he's been in mouse since he was born, basically.
Thought his career there will finish it there. Honestly, it's very rare. I don't think there's too many players that have played for like one single team for a long time. You're kind of like that too with Roots.
Yeah, kind of like that. We had a small hiatus where I went to Complexity, but otherwise I've been in the same team for like 10 years. But unlike Big Gabe, I mean, my career was not lasting through the entirety of my team's life.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we have here. Both players doing the standard wall up the ramp here on Jagannatha, and like I was mentioning, both of them have already had some mirror matches. MaNa won against StarCraft, but he lost against Kung Fu Panda, and on the other side, ShoWTimE lost to Cristiano. We've been talking a little bit about that series. I think it's the unpredictability of Cristiano that really was able to create some chaos that ShoWTimE was perhaps not ready for. And the Dark Templars in particular on the Romanticides. But now that we're on Jagannatha, I don't actually, neither of them I think have played it in the series that I've watched of theirs. So it's maybe a little bit more new territory in terms of what to expect.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting, by the way, that ShoWTimE chooses to block the probe of MaNa in by spending a little bit in that shield battery, and we have a little bit of a divergence here, and this pylon is amazing because MaNa opened for Adepts, right? Like, it's going to be very difficult and cost a lot of time for MaNa to actually take that down.
Which ShoWTimE was probably counting on. Like, it almost feels like he had the info and he was like, okay, well, if I go for that now, I'm really going to slow down your Nexus. ShoWTimE's Nexus, though, also kind of slowed, but because he went for his Stargate first and foremost, and because MaNa went for Adepts, he didn't open with sentries, so is he going to be on time in order to be able to scout that? I'm guessing what is going to be an Oracle here headed his way. Perhaps a good adjustment he could make is to just get a shield battery in his mineral line.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. He did hide the next 2 Adepts, so he's going to have a chance here to get in and try to one-shot whatever building or 2-shot whatever building ShoWTimE uses to block, but the Stalkers of ShoWTimE are very well positioned, so he's going to have a heads up, and he's going to drop the pylon extra early, which is going to make it impossible for those Adepts to shoot it down.
They don't call him the wall for no reason, that is for sure. This guy is one of the best defense in the whole game. He knows how to mix in the right amount of offense, usually. And we don't have a shield battery yet instead of MaNa's mineral line. The first hallucination he's used here, remember, like his sentries were very late. He's flying a War Prism across the map for his own aggression. That Oracle, how much damage can he find? Because I think he's going to get there as the Stargate finally gets scouted on the other side. Oh, actually, he flies past the Prism.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who that benefits, to be honest. They are both going to scout each other here, so that's nice. The shield battery at the natural will actually be done, and the units for MaNa are at the main, so this should be a successful defense on his end. On the other end of things, these guys are going to be Adepts, and they're going to find their way inside the main, so they should be able to take at least some probes worth of damage before they go down. Let's see what they can do here. Oh, going after the sentry.
Yeah, the Oracle coming back is very important here. ShoWTimE cannot lose too many probes. The Adepts is not moving his Stalkers properly to defend immediately against the Adepts. MaNa can even pick up now and evacuate for a little bit, maybe redrop into the Expo. Might be forced to recall here as there's a lot of Stalkers nearby now. And that was, I think, probes that fell.
Yeah, I think as soon as he sees the Phoenix, he's gonna have to recall. He can't wait too long or the Phoenix is actually gonna kill it all right. So he will be fine, but I like that he didn't recall right away, right? Like, it's the threat there. He says, you have to make a Phoenix. If you don't make a Phoenix, I park here forever, and you have to leave units back at home. If you make a Phoenix, then you'll give me the information that I recall.
MaNa found a way to circumvent the wall. Most people would just dig under it, but he was like, well, in StarCraft you can't. But you can fly over it, apparently, with a prism, and then still find some damage.
Nidus is... I would think that they dig it. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
like,
actually,
you never see it,
point.
but yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got +1 and some immortals coming out for MaNa. Usually that hints towards perhaps going for some aggression, like when you reach like, the 3 or 4 immortals. Any kind of push will be very strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whose position do you like better here, Mr. Todd?
Well, I'm the supply guy, so I think it's pretty clear that MaNa is ahead by 10 supply, so he's my guy. Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense or what?
Yeah, of course, it makes great sense. He's ahead by 10 supply, so he's my guy. I love it. ShoWTimE does have an investment in that third a little bit earlier, though. Those could be units. That could be supply. Instead, it's a Nexus. I'd call this game about even, but I did like the harassment from MaNa earlier. That said, in spite of taking that harassment, he's actually trailing in workers by 5, and he's trailing that expansion. So in the long run, I think that ShoWTimE will overpower him if MaNa can't find anything soon.
Yeah, ideally in this matchup, you want to get ahead somewhere, in the early or mid game, and then once you get even just a little bit ahead, I feel like players have become so good at figuring out what timing to go for. Usually with the +2 attack, if you have like even just 1 or 2 Archons more than the opponent, you can make a big difference if you set up the fight properly. The thing is, ShoWTimE scored the wall for a reason. That guy is so good defensively that any attack that would be thrown his way, he's going to do a very good job in defending. So MaNa maybe he needs to do more than just a little bit of damage here and there. And ShoWTimE is so consistent with the pro production. He's on 52 workers against 46 now. So unless he gets punished soon, I actually like his position better now. He's caught up in supply. He was 10 supply behind, now he's 1 supply ahead.
Yeah, he's gonna keep doing that because he's continuing to get that worker production. MaNa's Nexus is now gonna finish, so his worker production is gonna stabilize, but he's gonna be trailing 13 workers to start here after those kills from the Oracle. So it's a difficult thing for MaNa to make work. He did have 3 Immortals, and that was a big lead for a while, but he didn't really use them for a while. And now that when he crosses the map, he's going to be facing Zealots, which are excellent against both techs that he has. So Force Fields are going to be essential for MaNa.
Yeah, but there is a lot of sentries for MaNa, so he has some Force Field and Guardian Shield potential here. He's going to blink on the right-hand side. He traps so many of the Zealots, and there is no charge yet for ShoWTimE. This is a brilliant timing here for MaNa. If he can pull it off, all of the Zealots are trapped.
Yeah, there's still the battery overcharge that could be used, but those Immortals can gun it down, especially if it's the battery at the front. So I imagine ShoWTimE will be overcharged in the back. They're beautiful Force Fields, but he's running out, and that gets scary as well.
A Wings of Liberty-esque push here with a lot of sentries, Immortals, a ton of Stalkers for MaNa, who now has Blink. He blinks forward, and that's it. ShoWTimE shouldn't have enough here to be able to hold on.
It certainly doesn't look like it. I love that MaNa used his Zealots, even though they don't have charge, just to soak up the Zealots of ShoWTimE and MaNa with the start of an upset. A little bit of a mistake also by ShoWTimE, but to overcharge the battery that was closer to MaNa, right? So he snipes it right away as well.
That was very well done here. As soon as I saw those Immortals, I was like, okay, there is a real opportunity here to go for something. He was taking damage against the Oracles, so you're more incentivized to actually go for an attack as well, because you keep on falling further and further behind in Walkers. And yeah, we even saw him just cut Walkers in general a lot more than ShoWTimE was doing it. So ShoWTimE, known for his defense, so far in PvP, struggling quite a bit, and the defense just wasn't there here.
Yeah, it really just wasn't. But to the credit of MaNa, I mean, you mentioned it, those Force Fields were amazing. He didn't just have the energy, he had the Force Fields as well to back him up. And that was beautiful. I mean, it was clinical, right? Like, he ran out of Force Fields, but they did just enough. And again, that Zealot warping by MaNa, just 4 or so Zealots, just succinct. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what could have been done better for ShoWTimE here with the way the game was going. Maybe the Oracles shouldn't have been across the map anymore, and instead on his side of the map, ready to set up some stasis traps to buy a little bit of time. Maybe he could have made a few sentries himself, because like if charge had completed And even if he had had like 1 or 2 Archon, that would have been so much better. But that's the whole point of MaNa's timing, is to not let the opponent get ready. And he had banked so much energy on his own sentries that they were game winning here for sure.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I mean, right after the 4 Adepts that didn't do anything to start, MaNa made 2 sentries. So those 2 sentries were super full on energy because they were made so early, right? And I love the way that he used the Adepts just to poke. He didn't reveal them. He gave himself so many openings to try and make ShoWTimE trip, right? Like, it's like he uses the first 2 Adepts to clear the pylon, sure, but hides the next 2. Then the 4 try, they don't do anything. That's fine. Then loads them in a War Prism, then tries, then they find damage. Just a lot of 1-2 punches, basically, from MaNa. ShoWTimE, I think you were spot on, Todd. I think that he was maybe a little bit pushing it too much with those oracles. But now this is a different game, and spawning in the bottom right-hand side of the map for big, it is ShoWTimE.
His opponent in the blue, representing Team Liquid, it is Grzegorz Komings, MaNa.
Damn. Very nice.
That's probably way off, but I tried.
But yeah, I think 30. It was really good. Our producer said, by the way, perfect pronunciation by Todd. But yeah, I mean, those oracles, right? Like 13 worker lead, it seems almost overkill at that point, right?
Yeah, like it's so hard to recover from. Like, yes, you can chrono boost probes, but then there's other stuff you're not chrono boosting, and because you have to recover, then it's less units that you're gonna make also that the opponent can just invest himself into and then push into you. And then, like, yes, you caught up on Walker, but then you just end up taking damage to the next attack. So it's really hard to find like the just middle, like the right balance of what you need to be making at the time. And MaNa utilized that super well last game, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see this very clearly in matchups like in Zerg versus Zerg. Like, it's very difficult to saturate your third completely while being safe, right? So, in many cases, when you think an attack is coming, you have to find that right balance where you only have like 4, 5, 6 workers at your third. And here, again, that 13 worker difference seemed to be a little bit too much. So if the oracles hadn't gone for that last poke, and like you suggested, they had dropped those stasis wards or just done something better defensively, I think then ShoWTimE can hold. But hindsight 2020, I mean, yeah, I thought he was in a great spot, to be honest.
ShoWTimE, when he played against his series against Cristiano, actually on Romantic side, he went Stalker Sentry and then Stalker Sentry again. So just like he's doing now, and he went for Nexus on 34. So very, standard, safe. You don't drop any tech before you go for that. And it seems like, even though that was a series that he lost in, he still has full belief in his builds. And yeah, that was the game in which we saw Cristiano do a DT drop that did a lot of damage. So perhaps still fresh in his mind, ShoWTimE needs to be going the extra mile with the scouting, making sure he knows what's happened as MaNa goes for his target way earlier than ShoWTimE does.
Yes, indeed. Once again, also ShoWTimE trapping the probe, so choosing to spend the extra minerals to trap that probe, which isn't that straightforward, right? You might think, okay, like obviously the cancel is gonna cost less than the probe, but that probe already gained value by scouting, and to gain value back at mining, it has to travel across the map. So it's not exactly worth as much as a probe that spawns back at your mineral line. So I'm not sure that it's even profitable. Another cool thing that ShoWTimE did here is he knows that he's gonna get scouted by that probe for longer. So he started 2 units from his gateway, then canceled 1 when the probe died. So if you're MaNa, you're not gonna attack potentially into more units than your opponent. Like your opponent will have 1 less unit than you think he has. So you're less likely to attack. Regardless, MaNa is going for the same opening as well, with the 4 adepts to start.
It's all about that first blood, bro. You could assert dominance from minute 2 already. Remember, like all those guys that, like, whenever you would scout them, they would just take like all of their workers and click on your worker into their mineral line. That's what it's all about. Yes,
Destiny did that every time. I think. Yeah.
Break him mentally from the first minute.
Yeah. All right, this time it's an Oracle follow-up, though. You pointed out the early Stargate, so there's not going to be that War Prism follow-up for the Adepts to try and get in and do damage. And unfortunately for MaNa, he's going to be met by Phoenixes, the biggest nemesis, the mortal enemy of the Oracle.
Is he recall? Too late now.
Should, right? Is it too late? He dead?
Yeah, I mean, even if he gets out now, the thing is he took so much damage, could get hunted out on the map. Like if you have enough Phoenixes, And Adepts are setting up for the follow-up attack, but ShoWTimE has been so good at spotting everything and reacting on time. That's a great initial defense. And yeah, like this used to be a build order win whenever you would open Phoenix against Oracle. Nowadays, obviously, not the case anymore, but it's still not ideal for MaNa unless he can find a way to make these Oracles work, which good luck against ShoWTimE.
Good luck against ShoWTimE indeed. One cool thing that MaNa did is reveal the Phoenixes before recalling so that he couldn't be hunted down, but also perhaps so that he could sneak out here. And he is in the corner, in the left-hand corner of the map with those Oracles, biding his time, waiting for his opening, and they are going to be able to one-shot workers. So if he sees the Phoenix on his side of the map, I think then he's going to start moving forward. But look at ShoWTimE. He's looking for them. He's hunting wabbits.
Oh my god, ooh, he turned at the last second. Just before he would actually, maybe because he got caught on the map, or he saw this move out here by MaNa. I think MaNa is gonna poke at the front to try and force the Phoenixes to be there, because ShoWTimE has to be really worried about this attack, and he's gonna send the Oracles in the main base.
Lovely.
This is genius, because even though there is Stalkers there and Shield Battery, if he actually targets really well, he can kill so many probes if the Phoenixes are out of position. Oh my god, there's nothing in the main.
The weakened Oracle is at the front, though, so I would love a quick shuffle there of those Oracles. And now the Phoenix are back here as well. Let's see what MaNa can find here. A very interesting poke, but I am with you. This is some 3D chess from him.
And ShoWTimE might be reading into it. Like, you have to know at all times that the opponent has some Oracles on the map, ready to do something. I don't know if he saw them here immediately behind the army. MaNa a little bit hesitant. I would have thought he'd go for this attack, but now ShoWTimE has the first Immortal out, and with those 2 shield batteries at the expo, it looks like it's just a very difficult spot to attack into. MaNa might just chicken out, pull back, and expand.
Yeah, he's gonna get a heads up when this base goes down as well. ShoWTimE is gonna have to send a worker there. Hello, Oracles! They're tagged as well. They're tagged. You can see them. You can see them, and your name is Oracle. I mean, at that point, you deserve to die, I guess.
Wake up, MaNa!
Seriously. But I love what MaNa has been doing. I mean, I love that he kept even his first initial 4 Adepts alive. And then he still checks, right? He still checks, can I shading now? Can I shading now? And if ShoWTimE ever moves that probe, he could be in trouble. Good positioning as well here on the Stalkers. I'm very impressed by these games by MaNa, to be honest. ShoWTimE is always impressive, but like you said, pretty standard for the most part. I think we're going to see a good stasis here.
Yeah, he's gonna shoot for it.
Oh, never mind.
Just a revelation. Just wanted to see exactly what's going on, and I mean, I'm sure he expected a lot of gateways to be going down. MaNa actually panicked a little bit, by the way, earlier. He recalled, he saw that the Phoenixes were ahead of his army. Of course, they're faster, and he didn't have Blink quite yet. I think it was like 30% at the time. So he recalled, split his Stalkers between both bases, but instead of like leaving a 50-50 Stalkers in main and expo, he then sent the Stalker from the main to the expo. So ShoWTimE, picking up on that, was able to fly there, kill some more probes, a la Roti.
A la Roti, I love that. But yeah, now MaNa is in a lot of trouble. I mean, he's once again trailing 12 workers, but this time around, he doesn't have that nasty Immortal count. Instead, it's ShoWTimE with the Immortals. It's ShoWTimE with the map control with the Phoenix. A la Roti, so it's getting difficult, Johan.
We shouldn't start creating a monster like this. Then everybody just starts dropping these lines like, what is going on?
Yeah, I love all the props every time Cristiano did something good in that series. It's like, yeah, I mean, this didn't work against the Muslim, but it looks pretty good. I hope Ben wasn't watching that one, to be honest.
Well, he won the series.
Yeah, he would have enjoyed it too much, that commentary, yeah. I think.
Well, pretty sure he enjoys every win a little too much anyway. With those replay sessions.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, the +2 is about even, just slightly ahead right now for ShoWTimE, who's ahead in supply, and that's, 7 walkers ahead, equal in army. And usually that's where, if he can identify that, he might be the one to try and go for a timing. The gas number is also very important because, it translates into how many Archons you have. If you can have like 2 or 3 more than the opponent, usually you're literally... It reminds me of like the Roach versus Roach, where if you have like 2 more Roach than the opponent, you just literally smash them in the fight. Yeah. Kind of like that with Archons also.
Yeah, especially if the Zealot count is high, they will completely demolish. So we'll see what happens here. What does MaNa have to do to get back in this game? I mean, he's not trailing by as many workers as before, but he is going to be falling behind in his expansion. These adepts are going to get picked off. ShoWTimE does have that map control. He's going to be more aware of what's going on thanks to this Phoenix. It seems difficult for Gregor.
Yeah, I think the way he could come back is just like what he's doing. Just try to take things slow, wait for ShoWTimE to maybe make a mistake. I think having a War Prism out on the map could be one of the good things, but it's so dangerous because there's all of those Phoenixes patrolling the map. And, you know, if this gets found, it's really bad. We see a pylon actually at 6 o'clock as well to spot the eventuality of a Prism flying around the main base. And MaNa, like, this is so annoying when you're going Stalkers like this and the opponent has Phoenixes, because anytime he leaves his expansion with the Stalkers, the Phoenixes could fly in and kill a lot of workers. So you have to play extra defensive. And at ShoWTimE, that makes him super confident to expand way quicker. So we have that fourth base now starting to mine, where it's only starting on the other side for MaNa.
Yeah, it looks really difficult. And I mean, MaNa, I like the idea of going for Disruptors, but to go for Disruptors when your opponent already has Phoenix, it's a scary prospect. Instead, it's going to be Thermal Lance and Colossus. But to go Colossus when your opponent already has Phoenix, I guess it's not as bad, right? Like, they're going to be sitting on their Stalkers.
Phoenixes really don't do much against Colossus unless you have them like with upgrades and in really high numbers. But the thing is, Colossus are supposed to be bad if the opponent gets a lot of Disruptors. Then you have to really like try and outmaneuver and run around and stuff. So ShoWTimE, I think, is starting to get really confident. Usually when the time around when you max out, unless the game has been like really even, is when you want to move out and attack and, you know, replace those units with a Prism out on the map. And I think that fourth base is going to be a cancel. And I mean, if you're ShoWTimE here, you know, you've pretty much already won, I think, already been mining on the fourth base. He's even going to go for it. He's not even going to wait.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I mean, there's going to be one Colossus, but there's a lot of Phoenix still left over. Good spread now on the Archons. There is a shield battery overcharge, which is amazing, but not this amazing, surely.
I don't know. I heard the super battery is pretty scary. Let's see if he can save something.
If it was 20 supply, but 60, nah.
The soup will probably not lie. Indeed, more Zealots come in, and we get the Equalizer here for ShoWTimE, looking really good in the game number 2.
Yeah, one thing, however, is, do you think there's a way to exploit his opening? Because I have a sense of feeling that he's gonna go for the same thing, right? Like, he's gonna open Stalker Sentry. He's probably gonna trap the probe. Like, that is, I think, to some extent, one of ShoWTimE's weaknesses as a player, perhaps, is that he's a little too predictable, like a little too standard, like a little too solid in his playstyle, where he doesn't waver that much. But he also doesn't adapt that much, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would go that far. I feel like usually what do you want to do against somebody that's playing super safe? Then you'd want to play... you don't want to play too aggressive, right? Because then he's playing safe. He's going to defend and beat you. So the way to counter safety is to play greedy. If somebody's playing safe, then just develop yourself much faster. The thing is, because ShoWTimE is opening with a Stalker Sentry, he has a hallucination, the earliest that you can get it in the game. He's going to see what you do, and then he's going to make adjustments. He can like try to, you know, outgrid you, chronoboost probes, come back, take a quick third. Or he can go on the offensive because he's going to have more units than you. So it just feels like, you know how Terrans, like for a very long time, they had like this one Rax build that they would do, and it was just like the super solid thing. You would know that they do it, but you still can't really, per se, counter it with like a build order win. It kind of reminds me of that, in that, you know, it's just very solid, and then he's just going to be able to rely on everything, like his decision making and his mechanics later on.
Yeah, he does get the probe scout as well. I don't know if he's leaving with a probe like super early. Last time he did block the Nexus though, because I was thinking, what if you just skip units, right? Like, what if you just don't make any units out of your gateways or something?
Yeah.
Make a Nexus faster, but then he puts the pylon down and you just die, I guess. So that would be a problem. But I'm trying to think, how do you abuse it then? Is it just like Stalker Sentry the way taught? Like, there must be some counter. Like, maybe just Stalkers?
Yeah, maybe you could keep units 3 and 4 out of the gates, and then instead start your tech a little quicker, and then just make sure you're really on point with the pro production, which I think ShoWTimE does almost better than everybody in the games that we've seen so far. It's really hard to say. It's just such a solid opener, right? It's like he's making probes at the same time and everything. All right. Let's go into map 3. On Ox side, starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the blue Protoss, the Polish player MaNa.
And for Germany and big, it is ShoWTimE. I would like to see some sort of adaptation. Like, I think that Stalkers could be good. Maybe not on this map so much. Like, if you make like 4 Stalkers and your opponent then just ends up having a Sentry. On this map, not so much because they have to walk up the ramp. So on this map, I almost feel like MaNa should go Adepts again because they can just shade up the ramp. But actually, both players are going to open a little bit differently with the gateway at the low ground. So maybe Stargate's a little bit faster, maybe single gateways.
Yeah, this is a very different map in that you're supposed to wall at the expansion here, at the big ramp around the expansion. So that makes it sometimes trickier, but players nowadays are so good at scouting anyway. Most proxies, like everybody's going to be so good with them. MaNa actually tried a proxy against ShoWTimE when he played him, and that was the one map he lost. He did a proxy Void Ray, which was defended, and then ShoWTimE was just ahead, counter-attacked, and then just won later on. So against ShoWTimE, I don't think you'd want to try that if it already failed in the previous match. But there's still tricky things you can do. Like sometimes you'll see some players keep the Nexus for a while to start their techs. We've even seen Stargates instead of walls sometimes. So Stargate's a very real possibility. You don't necessarily have to go for that, but it can be one of the good builds.
Yeah, very good scout by ShoWTimE as well. Spots the pylon in the corner. So MaNa was dropping the pylon in the corner. If ShoWTimE doesn't see it, that could have been really good for him because then all of a sudden ShoWTimE has to account for that proxy potential that you're mentioning. So a good scout, now a Zealot to try and kill whatever pylon ShoWTimE would be willing to drop, as MaNa recognizes that both players want an expansion and drops his own pylon. So both players actually opening Zealot. Cool.
Yeah, I think they both maybe were worried about the opponent dropping a pylon at the expansion and not being able to kill that, like if you go for an Adept. Because on this map, unlike on other maps, like I was talking about, you don't open double gateway up the initial ramp, but you open with one gateway on the low ground. So they just wanted to play it extra safe. I kind of like that both of them will be able to drop down the Nexus whenever they want. But MaNa actually goes for Robo in the main base, whereas ShoWTimE is doing the same thing or similar to what he did when he faced Christianer, which is the Stargate in the wall.
Cancel of the Robo though, Todd. And I was wondering, why the hell would you go for a Robo here? Because you've spotted the wall Stargate, right? So why would you go Robo after seeing that? And maybe ShoWTimE is just as confused. MaNa is going to be chrono boosting the gateway, so we're going to see a gateway-based attack from him. I don't see a proxy gateway or potential for it out on the map. So I'm still a little bit confused, to be honest. I mean, Warp Gate's going to finish, and there's only going to be 2 gateways.
Yeah, it could be defensive, you know, like maybe he's not trying to overthink it. Like, you know, like what are his choices really? Start a Stargate way later than the opponent. He doesn't even know really what it is going to be exactly out of ShoWTimE. Usually you expect Oracles, which is why he's getting a shield battery. But as we see now, it's one Oracle into a Void Ray. So ShoWTimE a little bit worried perhaps with that Void Ray, like, you know, about the defense. In his other match, I think he had scouted that Christianer was being aggressive, and then he ended up also going for Void Rays.
Interesting. Do you think that's the effect that the Robo had on him then? That, you know, that he should go for a Void Ray?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's just a very solid thing to do. Like going double Oracle without knowing or having the full info would be a little bit greedy. And as we've seen, double Oracles, you know, they don't necessarily fly in there and win games either. Like everybody's just so good at defending against them nowadays.
Alrighty. So MaNa's going to be a little bit quicker to his Twilight Council. I imagine for Blink. There is also a faster Forge for him. So he's going to be powering out units on the ground while trying to defend against the air attack from ShoWTimE, who has opted once again for the more not so much defensive, but you know, it gathers intel. It's a very solid option, the Oracle. Yeah,
for sure. Especially, I think he's not greedy with it usually. Like he'll just poke in, try to see exactly what's happening. Now he sees Twilight and Forge, so he knows it's either Blink or Charge, and usually +1 attack there. And if he sees the Stalker count now, he's going to know it's Blink, and then he can start tagging those units. And really, like, getting the whole picture makes it so easy for him to decide what he does from there, how quickly he takes the third base, what he tags into after that.
Yeah, interestingly, he's just going to be trailing behind and chasing after MaNa. So the Stargate tech hasn't really accomplished anything from the side of ShoWTimE. He is still ahead a couple of workers from taking that Nexus earlier, and actually he's going to take a third a little bit earlier as well, so that's kind of nice. MaNa will spot it very timely, though.
His probe was stuck in his wall because he didn't click on the minerals, so he didn't walk through that Stalker here. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, he didn't achieve direct damage, but it's still going to achieve something similar to what we saw last game, where if you're the player facing Stargate units, for the whole game, you have to keep those in mind. for your main, your expo, your third base, like what do you do? Even if you make a cannon instead of each mineral line, it's like so expensive, so costly. You never want to do that. And even if you do that, the Oracle could still fly in and kill a bunch of your walkers. So you just kind of have to play very turtly. And if you turtle against somebody as good mechanically as ShoWTimE, he'll just out-expand you, out-tech you, choose when he attacks. He'll just be in the lead the whole time.
All right. So is MaNa going to be looking for a +2 timing here, Johan? Because his +1 is going to finish. He doesn't have enough units to really exploit that timing. And like I said, ShoWTimE is trailing right behind him, right? It looks like he does want to move out with it.
Yeah, if he can identify that his upgrades are way earlier, like he could wait for a +2. But when I look at the amount of units that he made and his timing on Blink and the amount of gateways that he has, he's going up to 6 gates here. It really feels like he wants to attack earlier than that. I think he was shooting for the ramp here. He was going to go for the ramp, land a force field, but the thing is, he was perfectly scouted by ShoWTimE, who saw this coming. He has a Stasis trap immediately behind his army. He's even going to tag it. He's like, yeah, don't try this. I'm ready.
Oh no, MaNa, no! Oh, Gregor! All right, I mean, the War Prism is going to go down. Just a couple of units there. He does have sentries. If he can prevent the blink or force a blink out of the ramp to defend his third, that would have been wonderful. But no, the Stalkers are already pre-positioned. And now ShoWTimE, in just a few seconds, is going to catch up on those upgrades. He has the Void Ray as well. I don't think MaNa can trade effectively here, and he's going to have to back away.
Yeah, MaNa ignored the warning here. There was an Oracle telling him literally not to go in there. Still tried it. And ShoWTimE, yet again, with a beautiful defense, catches another Stalker out on the map. He's on 97 supply against 81 now. And he's the one with the initiative in this game. And from there, it's very straightforward. He's dropping down 2 more gates in his main base. He has a Prism about to come out. He's just going to spam Stalkers. And I think go for a big attack. And even though MaNa is going for a lot of Zealots, because of like all that he lost, it's just going to be so hard for him to hold on, because you can just blink back a lot of your Stalkers against Zealots. They're just going to evaporate.
Yeah, and as the game progresses, it gets worse as well. But because while MaNa did get that upgrade a little bit faster than ShoWTimE, it's ShoWTimE that started his +2 faster this time around. So give him enough time and MaNa will be in trouble. I do like the Zealot decision, and he will have charged much earlier. So maybe there's an opening there.
Maybe he's happy with just the damage that he did here, because I see ShoWTimE is he was still making walkers until recently. He's got full saturation on 3 bases, except for like the one Vespin Geyser on the third. But he's taking the 4th base. He should know that he's earlier than the opponents. And 2 more gates again in the main base. We're playing full gateway compositions here, except for I guess the one Immortal that's on the way.
Okay, this is a lot of Zealots, but it's a lot of Zealots on either side. Once again, MaNa has a small timing here where he's going to have his upgrade and ShoWTimE will not, but it is charged. And Zealots with or without charge, they'll, run into each other at some point and they just shoot all the same. They will swipe each other with the same strength. It is a good start here for MaNa. Good concave as well. He has more Zealots. Blink forward to pick the Immortal as well. This is not bad.
Yeah, that Guardian Shield was huge here for MaNa, actually. Sorry, for ShoWTimE. But there's still so many Zealots. He needs to worry about ShoWTimE blinking to try and intercept the Prism. And he gets rid of it, but he's lost 16 probes here.
All right, well, MaNa's going to blink out, and the game was kind of stabilized on the back of that. Nice pick up there by MaNa. I'm not sure if you want to go for another one. A little bit greedy there. Will cost him a Stalker as well in return. But like you said, 17 workers. I love those Zealots at the top of the ramp as well. Waiting for a turnaround, should ShoWTimE overextend. But with that, I think MaNa's back in this. It's 50 workers to 50, but he's going to be trailing 1 upgrade back now.
Yeah, he absolutely needed to damage here. I'm pretty sure he purposely skipped on that +2 to make sure he had like just more units, and hadn't invested a lot of gas into this. Now we get the Templar Archives, but MaNa's actually only on 3 gases, whereas ShoWTimE's on 4. So already being mining on 4 bases. It still feels like there is pressure on MaNa to move out and achieve something, and he is doing that now. 6 High Templars being walked in, so 3 Archons are going to be in there, but there's already 2 on the other side. That one Immortal is very nice. It feels like it's a short window for MaNa to go for an attack here before ShoWTimE just starts outproducing him very heavily with a better economy and more gates.
Yeah, how big is the +2 versus +1 in this matchup here, Johan?
It's huge, like especially the bigger the army gets, the more important it becomes. So the +2 is pretty massive. MaNa, this is it. Like, he needs to win right here. He needs to win this fight. He needs to crush it. Does ShoWTimE have enough?
I don't know. I mean, it's a very good concave for MaNa, and actually, this seems to be working. A lot of those Zealots in the red, however, And those Archons will make quick work of them. The War Prism once again gets taken down. Expertly done by ShoWTimE. You don't want to go into those shield batteries now. You just gotta back away if you're MaNa. A good start to the fight. Unfortunately, a lot of the Zealots kind of getting trapped behind the Archons at the very start. The Concave was really nice. I love that he broke the rocks. And now with this flank, he might be able to pick off the Immortal in the back. That would be fantastic. But I'm not sure if it's going to be enough.
I think there's enough for ShoWTimE to push this back and secure himself the win here in this series, getting rid of the last few Stalkers. ShoWTimE did this so well too. He kited to his shield batteries. And then when finally, like, the Zealots had to pull back because they couldn't chase into the Archons, he turned around,